$10 car washes every weekend, only at Airpark Canterbury.
Tony, nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
Youth crime is back in the spotlight again. Chris Lynch Media broke the story of those youth offenders that were doing a lot of burglaries across, and it felt like all of Christchurch in some respects, many different suburbs. Have you caught them yet?
So the latest, there's been a couple of spates of this in recent times, and some we have apprehended and some we haven't, but the team they do a great job at apprehending it, and that's our role. Our role is about making sure that we're holding the offenders to this for account. It probably feels like to the public that we deal with one group and then there's another group pop up, but our clearance rates on this are very high, and we are good at apprehending them, and we'll keep doing that.
It must be pretty frustrating because you put out a statement, or police put out a statement to me saying that the offenders fled in stolen cars and drove dangerously, knowing police would not be able to pursue them because of the risk to the public. What does that tell us about the current situation, or that situation?
Well, it's a fairly constant situation there, but what we don't want to do, of course, is get into a pursuit with a stolen vehicle and put the public at risk as a result of that. The burglary is one thing, and that's appalling that they're doing those sorts of things, but to make it worse by pursuing them and therefore putting members of the public at risk is something that we're not prepared to do either. We've got really good ways of resolving these things without actually pursuing them at the time, if the thing they're going to do would put the public at risk just because of their driving manner. How
frustrating is it for your officers? Because I would probably suspect they know who the offenders are when that call comes in, probably. They're usually recidivist offenders, they're not first-time offenders, are they?
Well, actually, I'm super impressed with the maturity of our staff, is that they start turning their mind about, where will they go afterwards, where are they likely to stop, as opposed to trying to pursue them at the time. And I think, even back to when I first joined in the early 90s, that we probably would have chased them quite hard to find them, but actually our staff are approaching this in a different way. We're seeing better results as a result of it as well. So it should be really proud of the way that our people do approach this.
Is it fair to say that police are onto them, they know who they are?
Yeah, we've got our youth team do an amazing job. Most of the times when we have a offending like this nature, we within a day or so they've got a really good idea about who's responsible, and we've followed up on that. On the lead up to Christmas, we are increasing our resource that is in youth crime, because we know that this time of year, actually we potentially could see more of it, and we want to get in front of it before it happens. So.
Is it simply because, it's probably a hard question to answer, are they just bored?
Oh, look,
do they want attention? Is it all of the above?
I think there's an element of that, because what we do see is that there's a trend at the moment about they're on social media and live streaming some of the offending that occurs, not everywhere around the country, but that is a thing that plays out. So maybe the boredom factor is that. We saw them move from, of course, the ram raids of a few years ago to now they're doing burglaries and robberies, in fact, and an element of that will be about not so much about the thing that they're getting, but I suppose the unfortunate notoriety that they think they're getting from doing these things, but they really don't have a really good insight on the harm that they're causing and the distress that they put the owners of those places through, and the people, particularly with robberies.
And the problem is, I suppose, and the frustration of viewers, and we've spoken about this before, it's normally just a small cohort of offenders, but gee, they can cause damage, can't they?
Yeah, and sometimes literally 2 or 3 can cause some significant harm in a 24-hour window, and so the quicker we can react and apprehend those people and hold them to account, the better.
Retail New Zealand said over the weekend, and I was surprised by this personally, but Christchurch is the centre of concern for retail crime. Do you share that view? I thought things were getting slightly better.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a generalist statement. I think they might be wrapping into that without knowing, but I think they might be wrapping into what's happening around youth offending and, of course, what's happening around shoplifting. We've got a retail crime team now who are doing great results, and actually what we're hearing from our business community is that we are trending down in a lot of the offending that they're probably grouped into one big bunch.
Regarding the assault on police staff at Christchurch Airport, without discussing the specifics, in the wider context, is this part of a wider trend affecting frontline officers?
In terms of a trend, it's not. So actually, we're reasonably static in terms of the assaults and things that our staff are subject to. But none of these things are comfortable for us, and I really do feel that he's a good guy, that cop, and he was out doing, investigating something he thought was appropriate to get involved in. And it just, I suppose it really demonstrates the unpredictability that some offenders pose to our staff. And, really good guy, going about his job, and, what a tragic outcome for him.
He had to go to hospital, didn't he?
Yeah, it's been quite significant, the injuries that he's suffered as a result of this. And he will come back to work, but it will take some time. But without doubt that he's, and it's normal in these things, he's questioning what could he done better and things, but actually just shows that we're dealing with really unpredictable and quite dangerous people at times.
Well, I hope he's doing okay.
Yeah, he will. He'll fully recover from this, but it will take some time. And our whole team's right behind him.
Good. Police have seized more than 180 patches and hundreds of items of gang insignia nationwide since the gang legislations came in. Have we seen similar seizures across Canterbury?
No, the seizure numbers have been reasonably low here, but I think that's probably a reflection of the engagement that we have with gangs on the lead up to this. So personally, I met with a couple of gang leaders from different gangs and talked to them about, this is what the legislation brings. This is what you're likely to see in terms of response. We want them to know that they needed to have an expectation of enforcement if they continue to wear these things in public, and just the fear that public have from seeing them out and about and wearing these things. So I think our compliance levels in Canterbury reflect that. We've had a small number of cases that when they've come to our attention, we've reacted really quickly and apprehended them. And of course, we've had a couple of quite significant gangs, of course, that have been, big numbers of them have been arrested in unrelated police operation, which has helped in this situation as well. But by and large, the gang unit that's based here in Canterbury, which polices the whole of the South Island, has seen reasonably good compliance.
Well, that's good to hear. As you know, there's been a significant movement from people coming from the North Island, particularly Auckland, to Christchurch. Are we seeing that reflected in crime stats?
So no, I think most people who are relocating are probably not likely to be clients of police, but we are mindful about, and we monitor really carefully about population growth and what's the demographic that are likely to see more of our services. So most people are coming here because they, the house prices are arguably better here than some other
don't
parts
say
of the
that. We don't
country.
want too many people coming.
Oh, they're going to move next to you, Chris, so that'll be a problem.
A lot of them are moving to Selwyn, aren't they? Have you had to sort of look at increasing your workforce in that area? I think Selwyn's now the biggest or the fastest growing population in New Zealand, isn't it?
Yeah, so we've still got a trial of 24/7 policing model out there, but we're really keen to bring that to some form of permanency movement. We won't back off from what it currently is, but we're just thinking about how we might resource that, and it's important to do that. I hear things like it's going, by the end of this decade, it'll be the size of Dunedin, so we definitely need to have a 24/7 response in the Selwyn area. So.
Police charged a 32-year-old Swiss national with careless driving causing death in that terrible accident in Sheffield. What struck me as interesting, Tony, is the inclusion of the nationality in the press release. Was that intended to give the public context about potentially visiting drivers who may have limited experience on our roads?
So it wasn't intended to be that. What I can tell you is that there is a perception that actually people who are foreign to our country and driving here are a risk to our roads. And the reality is that there's far more Kiwis are causing and or involved in dying on our roads than any of the people who visit our country. I know from this case is that that person held a driver's licence in their own country, had done for some time, and also they had been in the country for a reasonable period of time. I think for at least 10 or 12 days. So normally when we do see people land here and driving on our roads that aren't used to our roads, they get involved in incidents normally in the first 24 hours. And sometimes that can be as they're actually tired when they arrive. And we have done a lot to address what the expectations of road use for people arriving here before they even get here. But I suppose this is a good opportunity for me to just encourage people. We are we're rapidly approaching Christmas now. It just seems over the last few weeks, driving behaviour on the road hasn't been as good as what we'd like to see. People are getting frustrated with others earlier than what we probably see in previous years as well, and just encourage people to be patient, look twice before we enter intersections and do those sorts of things, and just be tolerant of other people on the road. It's it seems we hit Cup Week, and all of a sudden our roads are a lot busier than what they were in the previous weeks, and tolerance and frustration levels go up. So please be kind.
There have been some tragic accidents in the South Island it feels like the last month, and But I think it's still really important to report them because I think it's also reminding people, be careful on the roads because these tragedies do happen. I put out a couple of questions to the viewers and if they had any questions for you, and there were two that were quite constant in the email inbox, and that was, when will police take stronger action against drivers who run red lights? That was the first one.
Yeah. So fair question. So look, if we observe this, then we do something about it. So we encourage our staff to actually take action against drivers who run red lights, because of course they put the other road users in harm's way. And I encourage people, if they do manage to get a registration number for the offending vehicle, they can report that on 105, and we will follow up. It's important that we do follow up on that, particularly if it's someone who is, blatantly disregarding those rules. You get the occasional person who's made a mistake, but by and large, that if people are blatantly disregarding them, we'll follow up and we'll prosecute them for it, because it is unsafe.
And the second one that was the most popular question that came through is, what is being done about drivers using cell phones behind the wheel?
Yeah, so we're actually really effective on this. We have some numbers that we try and get to in terms of prosecuting offenders. We're normally well over that. I know it's frustrating when people are at lights and things and seeing people talking on their phone, or they're obviously looking down at something which is most likely a phone. And all those things are distracting you from driving. I see a bit of a trend too on people are buying something to hold their phone, but they carry on using it. I just want to tell people that is also against the law, so you can expect to get prosecuted for that. But we know that a large percentage of our crashes are a result of people being distracted by, and primarily by people on their phone. So our enforcement on that is really good, and we will maintain that. I personally do a lot of those. I suppose it's my favourite, to catch people on their phones, and they always get the Tony talk with it as well.
The Tony talk.
Yeah, well, I point out to them about, not just as this, what you've done illegal, and it's going to cost you $150 plus some demerit points, but also we know a lot of our serious crashes, one of the things that's constant is distraction.
Well, get off the phones. Tony, nice to see you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.